Now, critical to all this, obviously, is going to be Pakistan. Pakistan exercises an enormous amount of influence in Afghanistan. Pakistan has housed and given sanctuary and safe haven to the entire Taliban leadership since 2001. And much of the Taliban insurgency that restarted in 2003 started with the help of Pakistan. Even as with one hand, Pakistan was helping Bush capture Al-Qaeda. With the other hand, we knew that Pakistan was also helping the Taliban relaunch their offensives now against the Americans and the government in Kabul. Now, I'm not going to go into the whole history as to why, but certainly we are now paying the price internally. Pakistan is in a state of acute crisis right now. The economy is shot. There is no energy. There's a collapse of industry. There's massive joblessness. There is insurgency in 2 of the 4 provinces, one led by the Pakistani Taliban, who are carrying out devastating suicide attacks all over the country and aim to topple the government. There's another insurgency in Baluchistan, which is for separation. It's completely separate from the Taliban insurgency, but the Baloch are fighting for separation from Pakistan, which, would lead to the breakup of Pakistan, which would be catastrophic in the region if it happened. And neither of these 2 insurgencies are being met with any degree of political sense and common sense. Instead, the military is trying to curb them militaristically rather than trying to talk to some of these insurgents. Thirdly, there's an enormous bout of killing and humiliation of the minorities in Pakistan. First, the non-Muslim minorities, the Christians, the Hindus, have all been targeted. And now, even more than ever, certain sects within Islam are being targeted. Ismailis, Ahmadis, and the Shias. Hundreds of Shias have been killed literally in the last 3 months alone by Sunni fundamentalists. And there seems to be no protection for the minorities. There seems to be nowhere where they can go. The state really is either unwilling or is not in a position to defend them. Now, what I try and discover in this book is, where did we go wrong? How is this mess being created? And many people go back to, partition in 47 and say how the British, messed it all up and how they divided India wrongly, etc. Other academics and books go back to the 70-71 war, the loss of East Pakistan, the creation of Bangladesh, and the defeat of the Pakistan army at the hands of India, which then fueled a kind of revenge paradigm within the military. I really would like to go back to what I see as the critical juncture for this present failure in Pakistan, and that is the end of the Cold War in 1992. If you look at the end of the Cold War, what a lot of third world countries were faced with, who had either been allies of the United States or of the Soviet Union, that these countries now realize that they had to stand on their own 2 feet. The loans, the aid, the collaboration with one superpower against the other had really ended. And what you see is the growth of economic reforms, increasing trade, good neighborly ties, the growth of these regional associations like the European Union, ASEAN in Asia, and other regional bodies in Africa and South America. And new industries coming up, high-tech, globalization. You have all these movements coming together in the 90s, and everything passes Pakistan by. Pakistan, the ruling elite, the military-civil elite, do not take into cognizance any of these changes that are happening in the world around them. Instead, the military, which was ruling Pakistan by the end of the 90s and was really dominating foreign policy before then, was involved in 2 covert wars. We were supporting militants fighting in Kashmir against the Indians, and at the same time supporting the Taliban, who were fighting the Northern Alliance in Afghanistan. So rather than try and adopt and change and realize that the feudal basis for society and the feudal basis of democracy in Pakistan, the failure to collect taxes and revenue, the failure for the elite to pay their own taxes, the failure to carry out economic reforms, land reforms, introduce new industries, none of this happened. And secondly, the legacy from the 70s of, first of all, arming the Afghan Mujahideen with the help of the CIA, and then continuing to pursue this policy of using extremist groups as a tool of foreign policy. This has really now become a noose around Pakistan's neck, because it continues today, with the kind of support that is still being given to the Taliban. And the end of the Cold War surely signaled that you could arm religious fundamentalists against the Soviet Union, because the Americans were doing the same thing as they supported the Mujahideen, to fight the Soviets in Afghanistan and in other places. But after the end of the Cold War, this policy lost all relevance, really. And after 9/11, it became it became unacceptable for the whole world to pursue or support extremist groups. And yet, the tragedy of Pakistan was that we continued to do this. Now, so I think, the failure to recognize the end of the Cold War and the forces of change that brought about in the global community, and the continuation of this support for extremist groups has been the two main problems that we have faced.